The family of four, consisting of John, his wife Sarah, and their two children, Emily and James, had never heard of Great Uncle Silas until the day they received a letter from a lawyer's office informing them of his passing and the unexpected inheritance of his estate. The letter was brief, with no details about the estate or the conditions of the inheritance, only a request to meet with the lawyer to discuss the matter further. Curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to make the trip to the lawyer's office, located in a small town a few hours away from their home. As they arrived, they were greeted by an old, eerie-looking building with a sign that read, "Lawyer's Office" in faded letters. Inside, they met with the lawyer, Mr. Jenkins, an elderly man with a kind face and a warm smile. He welcomed them and began to explain the details of the inheritance. Great Uncle Silas was a reclusive man who lived in a grand estate on the outskirts of town. He had no immediate family, and you are his closest living relatives. He has left his entire estate to you, including the mansion and all its contents. John, Sir, and Sarah exchanged excited glances, thinking of the possibilities. Emily and James, on the other hand, looked at each other with a mix of excitement and apprehension. There is, however, one condition. Mr. Jenkins continued, his expression turning serious. You must never enter the basement of the mansion. It's an old house, and the basement is said to be unstable. Great Uncle Silas was very clear about this condition, and I must stress that it's of the utmost importance. The family looked at each other, confused and intrigued by the strange condition. What could be in the basement that was so dangerous? They decided to say, "Sir," ask Mr. Jenkins, but he only shook his head. I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. Great Uncle Silas was a private man, and he took his secrets to the grave. All I can say is that you must respect his wishes and stay out of the basement. With that, the meeting ended, and the family left the lawyer's office with more questions than answers. They drove to the estate, eager to see their new inheritance and explore the grand mansion. As they approached the house, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, as if they were being watched. The mansion loomed before them, its towering spires and turrets reaching towards the sky like skeletal fingers. The family exchanged nervous glances, wondering what secrets the house held and what lay hidden in the forbidden basement. As they stepped out of the car, the family couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the grandeur of the mansion. The estate was surrounded by a dense forest, and the house itself seemed to be shrouded in a perpetual gloom, as if the trees were trying to encroach upon it. The once manicured lawns were overgrown, and the sound of crickets and rustling leaves filled the air. John, ever the curious one, couldn't wait to explore the mansion. He led the way, pushing open the creaking front door, which revealed a dimly lit foyer with a chandelier that cast eerie shadows on the walls. The air inside was stale and musty, filled with the scent of decay and rot. Sarah, Emily, and James followed close behind, their eyes adjusting to the darkness. They found themselves in a grand hallway lined with cobweb-covered portraits of ancestors they had never known. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, and the family couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched. As they explored the mansion, they discovered room after room of dusty antiques, old books, and forgotten memories. Each room seemed to hold a story, a tale of love, a loss, and tragedy. The family wandered, mesmerized by the history that surrounded them, but also sensing an underlying darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. Emily, ever the sensitive one, felt it most acutely. She would catch glimpses of something out of the corner of her eye, only to turn and find nothing. She began to feel like she was being led deeper into the mansion, further into its secrets, and further from the safety of her family. As the sun began to set, while casting long shadows through the windows, the family decided to call it a day. They retired to their respective rooms, exhausted but also exhilarated by the secrets they had uncovered. Little did they know, the mansion had only just begun to reveal its mysteries. As they drifted off to sleep, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being waited for, that something in the depths of the mansion was patiently awaiting their return. And in the darkness, a presence stirred, its eyes fixed on the family, watching and waiting. The next morning, the family gathered in the grand dining hall for breakfast. The long table was laden with silverware, china, and crystal glasses, a testament to the opulence of the their ancestors. As they sat down to eat, they noticed something strange. The portraits on the walls seemed to have changed. The faces were no longer stern and serious, but rather seemed to be watching them with a malevolent grin. "I think we're being played with. I saw something move out of the corner of my eye yesterday, and now these portraits, it's like they're trying to tell us something." John Ever, the skeptic, dismissed her concerns. "It's just your imagination, Em. This house is old, and our minds are playing tricks on us." But Sarah, who had been observing the children, noticed that James had been quiet and withdrawn since their arrival. "James, what's wrong? You've been acting strange since we got here." James looked up, his eyes wide with fear. "I saw something in my room last night. Hey, it was dark and shadowy, and it whispered my name." The family exchanged worried glances. It was then that they heard a faint whispering in the walls, a soft, raspy voice that seemed to be calling out to them. Suddenly the lights flickered, and the family was plunged into darkness. The whispering grew louder, more urgent, and they knew they had to get out of there. But as they tried to leave, they found that the doors were locked, and they were trapped. In the darkness, the family heard footsteps, heavy and deliberate, coming from the floor above. It was then that they realized they were not alone in the mansion. Something was coming for them, something that had been waiting in the shadows. The family huddled together, frozen in terror as the footsteps grew louder and closer. They could feel the presence of something ancient and evil, something that had been awakened by their intrusion. Suddenly, the lights flickered back to life, and they saw it. A figure, tall and imposing, with eyes that burned with an otherworldly fire. It was Great Uncle Silas, or what was left of him. His face was twisted in a grotesque grin, and his voice was like a rusty gate scraping against stone. "Welcome, family," he croaked. "I've been waiting for you. You should not have come here. You should not have broken the rules." As he spoke, the family felt a creeping sense of dread. They tried to run, but their feet were rooted to the spot. Great Uncle Silas began to laugh, a sound that was like thunder in the darkness, and then the shadows came alive. Dark tendrils snaked out from the walls, wrapping around the family like chains. They felt themselves being pulled towards Great Uncle Silas, towards the darkness that lurked within. As they screamed, the shadows consumed them, and they were never seen or heard from again. The mansion remained standing, a monolith to the horrors that lurked within. And in the basement, the darkness waited, patiently, for the next family to inherit the curse. The last sound to be heard was the creaking of the old wooden sign outside, which read, "Welcome to Bloodstone Manor." The wind howled through the trees and the darkness closed in forever.